Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for this conversation, presented by our YouTube channel, Audio Podcast. Today, we're diving into something that often feels really complex, maybe even a struggle, financial success. It seems like for most people, financial freedom is this distant thing, always just out of reach. But maybe the answers are simpler, more internal than we think.
That's absolutely the core idea, isn't it? It's about shifting how we view money. Instead of seeing it as this constant battle, this source of stress, we start seeing it as a tool, a force, really.
Hmm.
And the way you think about it, your, let's say, fundamental money mindset, that's presented as the most powerful factor in your financial life.
Right. So we're talking about breaking free from that constant financial worry. And this isn't about, get-rich-quick schemes or anything like that. Not at all. Our aim today is really to uncover some proven strategies, how successful people think, the habits they build,
Yeah.
and how they move from, constantly chasing money to letting it flow towards them.
Yeah.
That's what we want to explore.
Exactly. It's about building wealth based on specific principles, not luck or shortcuts. And these are principles anyone can learn and apply.
Okay, so let's get into that. The idea of money as an energy or a force, if it's accessible, if abundance is possible, why do so many people find it such a struggle?
Well, a lot of it seems to trace back to our early conditioning, what some call the scarcity mindset. We pick up these limiting beliefs, often from childhood, things like money doesn't grow on trees.
Or we can't afford that. That phrase gets ingrained.
Precisely. And that kind of programming means we tend to operate from a place of almost chronic lack. Fear becomes the driver.
So when you say energy, it's not really mystical. It's more about where our mental focus goes, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm constantly worried about bills, maybe 80% of my mental bandwidth is just tied up in anxiety.
That's a great way to put it. You have very little capacity left for creative solutions, for seeing opportunities. That fear makes people settle for less, maybe take jobs they know are below their potential, or avoid risks that could actually lead to growth.
Because the familiar struggle feels safer somehow than the unknown of trying something bigger.
Exactly. It's fear-based decision-making.
But, okay, how does someone practically bridge that gap? If you're working multiple jobs just to keep your head above water, how do you start thinking differently?
Yeah, that's the challenge. The key difference highlighted is how people who attract wealth think about value. They don't just see it as earning hour by hour. They see wealth as something that's created, that flows when you solve problems for others.
So it's less about just working harder and more about working smarter, increasing your actual value.
Yes, focusing on solving bigger problems or solving problems more effectively or for more people, that's where the shift happens.
And that ties right into this idea of your financial self-image. If you see yourself as someone who's just scraping by.
You'll unconsciously act in ways to keep yourself there.
Like getting a raise and immediately spending it on something that doesn't build wealth just brings you back to that familiar baseline state.
It's like an internal thermostat. If it's set to, say, 70 degrees financially, even if things heat up to 80, you'll find ways to cool it back down.
So you have to consciously reset that thermostat.
You do. And a really practical, immediate shift is in the language you use with yourself. Instead of saying, I can't afford this, which just shuts down possibilities, ask yourself, okay, how could I afford this?
Ah, I see. That simple question forces your brain to start looking for solutions instead of just accepting the limitation.
Exactly. It moves you from passive acceptance to active, creative problem solving.
And we shouldn't overlook the environment either, right? Who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. If everyone around you reinforces the idea of struggle, it feels normal, inevitable. But being around mentors or peers who think differently about wealth, it expands your idea of what's even possible. It normalizes success.
Okay, so we've talked about the mindset, resetting that internal thermostat. But thinking is one thing, action is another. People get inspired, right? They make plans on Sunday night.
And then life happens on Monday morning. Motivation fades.
Yeah. So what bridges that gap? What creates consistency? The material points heavily towards discipline, doesn't it?
Discipline is really presented as the foundation. Motivation is great, but it's unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline is the system. It's the commitment you make to your goals, regardless of how you feel in the moment.
It's about controlling those impulses, those emotions that derail long-term plans.
Often, yes. And it usually means sacrificing some immediate comfort or gratification for a much bigger payoff later, that future freedom.
And crucially, it's not about taking on these huge, daunting changes all at once. It's built slowly, right?
Absolutely. Discipline is like a muscle. You build it through small, consistent daily actions, almost boringly small sometimes.
Like financial conditioning.
Exactly. Practicing self-control in those small moments, maybe delaying an impulse buy online, packing a lunch instead of buying one. Over time, it stops feeling like forcing yourself, and it just becomes part of who you are, your default behavior.
Let's talk practicals then, those micro actions. Where does someone start? The first step seems to be just awareness.
Yes, simply tracking your expenses, knowing exactly where your money is going.
Which sounds simple, but a lot of people, even high earners, seem to resist doing it. Why is that?
I think because awareness brings accountability. It shines a light on patterns you might not want to see. It removes that comfortable excuse of, I don't know where it all went.
Okay, so once you have that awareness, what's next? Control.
Right. Implementing control. And the key here is setting up rules and systems in advance rather than relying on willpower in the moment.
Like automating savings.
Perfect example. Set up automatic transfers to your savings or investment accounts right when you get paid. Don't leave it up to how you feel that day.
Make discipline the easy option.
Make it the default path, because temptation is everywhere, especially now.
So how do we handle that constant temptation? It can't just be willpower, right? That runs out.
Willpower is definitely finite. That's why systems are so important. You structure your environment to support your goals. If online shopping is a witness, maybe remove your saved credit card details from websites.
Make it harder to impulse buy.
Exactly. If you spend too much on eating out, maybe plan and prep your meals for the week on Sunday. It's not about depriving yourself of everything. It's about taking control so you can spend consciously, without guilt, on the things that truly matter to you.
Okay, this next part feels like a really crucial shift. Moving beyond just managing money and saving. How do we transition from that feeling of always chasing money, working harder and harder, to a place where opportunities and value start flowing to us?
It loops back to that core idea of money, energy, and value. Worry, fear, desperation. That scarcity mindset actually tends to repel opportunities. Money, in this view, flows towards those who respect it, manage it well, and crucially focus on creating value and growth.
And the core principle seems to be, your income reflects the value you provide to others.
Directly. The more significant the problem you solve or the more people you solve it for, the higher your potential income.
So the focus shifts from just putting in more hours
To increasing your usefulness, working smarter, finding leverage, scaling your solutions.
becoming someone who provides solutions people actively seek out and are willing to pay for.
Precisely. You position yourself as a valuable resource, not just someone trading time for a wage.
That requires a certain confidence, though, doesn't it? Believing in the value you offer.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about effort, it's about delivering results, outcomes.
People pay for the solution, not just the attempt. So you need to be able to articulate that value clearly, own it.
You do. And you also need resilience. Because when you're trying to offer higher value, trying new things, you will face rejection. It's inevitable.
But the successful mindset doesn't see rejection as final failure.
No, it sees it as feedback, market data, information you use immediately to refine your approach, to get better.
So constant learning is key. Adapting to stay valuable.
Relentless learning and adaptation. The economy changes, needs change, so your value proposition has to evolve too.
Okay, so let's look at the end game here. What's the ultimate goal? It's not just a bigger paycheck, is it? It sounds like it's about freedom?
That's exactly it. Freedom defined as having control over your time, your choices.
So how do we set things up so our money keeps growing, generating more value without requiring our constant hour-by-hour effort? That sounds like the dream.
That's where you shift your thinking again. From employee, trading time for money, to thinking more like an investor or a business owner. The goal is to build assets, systems sometimes called a money machine, that work for you, generating income and growing over time even when you're sleeping or on vacation.
Can you give some examples of what those machines might look like? How does that automation work in practice?
Sure. It's about leveraging things like compounding growth. So investing strategically in assets that generate income passively. Think about things like well-chosen rental properties that provide cash flow,
Okay.
or building digital assets, maybe an online course, an ebook, software, something you create once that can be sold repeatedly with minimal ongoing effort.
Dividend-paying stocks could fit in there too.
Absolutely. Assets that work for you. The principle is leveraging systems and capital multiplication.
And diversification seems critical here too, not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Definitely. Having multiple streams of income protects you if one area faces challenges. It reduces risk.
And using leverage. Is that part of it? Like using resources, maybe even debt sometimes strategically?
Yes, using leverage responsibly is key to accelerating growth. Using other people's time, other people's money, existing platforms or resources to scale your efforts faster than you could alone.
Because ultimately, the goal isn't just the number of the bank account.
No. True wealth, as it's often defined in these discussions, isn't just accumulation. It's about having genuine control over your life, your time, your decisions.
Living life on your own terms. That's the real freedom.
That control is the ultimate dividend you get from mastering these principles. We've talked a lot today about the power of mindset and this interesting idea that the mind struggles to tell the difference between vivid imagination and actual reality. So, maybe a question for you listening is, what's one small thing you could do today to start mentally rehearsing? To visualize yourself making those smart financial decisions, acting from abundance, and essentially programming your brain for the success you want.
Yeah, that's powerful. And building on that, maybe ask yourself, what's my internal financial thermostat set to right now? Is it struggle, just enough, or something else? And if you want to turn that dial up, what's one small, consistent, disciplined action you can commit to this week? Something that reinforces that new, wealthier identity you're building. Well, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you found this helpful and want more discussions like this, more motivational insights, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Audio Podcast. We hope to see you again soon.